Alrighty, welcome back. We are back here with Nerd Squared, and he's going to be running Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 100%.
No.
So, all those Poppy Playtime fans, here's for you.
Mm.
And take it away. Good luck.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Nerd. I like to run a lot of indie spooky games, running for this marathon. And as Pleasant was saying, I'll be running Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, just Chapter 3, because this game has an episodic release going on with its chapters, kind of like what Ben the Machine, even The Walking Dead did back in the day. I'll be doing 100%, which is, of course, completionist category. And what that means for Chapter 3 is I'll be getting all 11 VHS tapes that are scattered throughout the world. There's usually like one or two in each major area, so I'll be grabbing those. And also in one particular section, midway through the game, where we go through a school, I'll have to grab 6 notes as well. And I'm also running the unrestricted, or out of bounds unrestricted is the subcategory. And what that basically means is anything goes as far as glitch usage. So it's basically the the most broken you'll ever see this game get, short of running any percent, I guess. And I'm also running unrestricted, which basically means I can lower the frame rate below 60 for a couple of prop flies I'll be doing, because this game does have some prop physics shenanigans. I've ever seen the other first-person speedrun before. So yep, that's about it there. I'll also be doing a bit of counting at the start, and I'm explaining this right now because it happens as soon as I gain control. I'll be counting to 7 as soon as I start the game, because right after the intro cutscene. I'm doing that because it'll line up some cycles right at the beginning. Just skip that intro. It's unfortunate we have to skip it because it's actually a really cool analog horror style intro. Yeah, it's chapter 3. Start off directly after chapter 2 ends, where basically trying to get out of this toy factory, where we crash in a train trying to do so. We're gonna get thrown down the trash chute by Catnap. He's this big purple cat you'll see right there. He's gonna throw us down the trash chute, and that's where the game will start. And I have to, like I said, I'll be counting down from 7 here. And once we get to go count down from 6, and we'll start on go. That's what we'll be doing here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so you might be wondering, hey, why'd you just wait there and count at the start? That seemed like it was a bit of a time waste. What that actually did is, as I was saying, it lines up some cycles. There are these pistons right here that I'll be jumping on throughout this intro area. And those pistons move on a global cycle, which it starts as soon as the intro cutscene starts. So by counting to, in my case, 7 right there, it lines up the pistons so that I don't have to wait for them to move. Saves a good couple of seconds at the start. There's also a bit of a tighter cycle you can do there, where you wait for around 10 seconds instead of 7, but it's a little tight for me, so I opt to do 7 instead. Yeah, I did mention that we'll be grabbing all the VHS tapes for Hundo. We'll be grabbing our first one in this next room. And we're gonna get introduced to a new mechanic for Chapter 3, which you've seen a few times throughout this run, putting these batteries in to power doors. There's a little trick you can do for this door, where you can do a glitch to make one of those batteries jumbo size and carry the battery to this next room. Skip a little tutorial, but I'm a little inconsistent at it, so I opt not to do it. Oh, hobby with the raid, nice. I haven't watched his run earlier in the marathon, but I heard he's pretty chill. So yeah, we're getting the tutorial here for the battery mechanic that I just explained earlier. We'll be moving along here. By the way, that's the train from Chapter 2 that we crashed on. We get introduced to another new puzzle mechanic here for Chapter 3, which are these poles. Turn the poles with the Q or E keys, and place a key part in some of the puzzles you'll be seeing in this run. And there'd normally be a bit of a cutscene here where we ride this tram to get to the main hub of the game, which is called Playcare. But we're going to do our first prop fly of the run with this chair. Gonna do it to get on top of this tram. It can be a little finicky as you're seeing because the chair can behave very erratically when trying to use it to get on top of the tram. It just behaves really wildly when you try to flip it, fly with it. So it's a little finicky, but eventually got up there. I'm gonna crouch down there because there's a load trigger that extends just above the ceiling of the tram. That way I'm on top of the tram here when this level loads. I'm gonna do the same thing we just did with the chair to get on top of the tram, but instead we're gonna use it to skip the tram ride. And it's one of the craziest tricks in this entire run. It's just a huge spectacle, no matter how many times you see it. So we're gonna set up this chair in a very particular way. Flop down like that. It's very difficult setup because the chair really likes to bounce around in the collision of this little lip in the tunnel. I'm gonna change the FPS to 15, and off we go. Like I said, the chair can behave very erratically when you try to do this, so it's a little hard to control, but we managed. I actually got a bit of a horizontal boost there, which is super good. So I went down to 15 FPS there, hence this run being unrestricted, because props behave differently depending on the FPS you're at, and for this prop fly, 15 FPS is ideal for flying with the chair. You get the most height and speed with it. Just boost over the tram track, get right to the playhouse. But we're not out of the woods yet. There's one more trick up my sleeve before we actually get into play care proper. And it's a very particular setup, so hopefully I get it. Set myself up there. Get the hand at a specific time. We got it. Alright, cool. So it might not have looked like anything, but on the way down, I hit a power relay that I'm not supposed to hit until after the second area of the game. And what they'll allow me to do is access the key for that later area, so that I don't have to sit through what's basically a 2-minute long unskippable scene. I'm getting this plug just to hit a story trigger, basically. Because I first have to get this key, which will let me access the first main area, the production zone, that's what it's called. And then I'll activate that plug that I got earlier, after hitting the power relay. Now let me get a second key. That key I'm supposed to get for the third area, right after completing the second. Don't worry about it. But I grabbed it early right there, so we don't have to sit through the cutscene later. And you'll see the effects of that way later on, like around 15 minutes in. Got the first area done. Well, the intro done, anyway. We'll begin to the first actual area here. This is the production zone. Kind of the main goal of this game is to get the red gas in that machine moving along so that we can defeat the main antagonist of the game. It's that purple cat I was talking about before. We have to do a bit of puzzling to actually activate the generator. So we got our second VHS tape right here. I also just got an upgraded version of the Grap Pack right there. The Grap Pack are these two hands that I have. You interact with the environment. Pretty signature mechanic in Poppy. And it's got an upgrade to it with this purple hand. Seeing in action, we use it on these pads right here to jump, kind of like we're jumping on a springboard. Pretty key mechanic for movement, and also some puzzles, as you'll see throughout. And you're supposed to drag this purple pad right here over to the other side. So you can get over that gate, but you can use the forward momentum of your movements. Kind of blanking right there. You can use the forward momentum of your movements to skip having to bring the pad all the way over. Puzzle to solve. Again, using those electric poles. Boom, there we go. That'll give us power to turn on the generator. That's what we'll do as soon as we get out of this room. Oop. And we have to wait in this doorway until the generator starts turning on before we can leave. It's like a certain hue I'm looking for. There we go. As soon as that meter in the middle of the screen starts going up, that's when I can move. So we try to use the generator to move the red smoke. It's actually what it's called, the red smoke. But it unfortunately causes the power to go out. So now the main actual plot of the game. So now the main plot of the game is kind of set in motion. Where we'll be going to these different areas to grab the power cords from the entrance of each area to give us enough power to turn the red smoke on. And usually in between each major area, we have to get a key down here, beneath the statue. I have to go to the next major area, which grab the key to our second main area, and be home sweet home up there. I do a swag shot here. Nice. You can shoot if you position yourself and time it just right, you can open the door with the grab pack from far away there before you even get remotely close to the porch. That's a new mechanic, by the way, that was added for Chapter 3. You can open doors with the grab pack just by shooting your hands at it, instead of going up to the door yourself and pressing E. Decent time saver, saves around 1 to 2 seconds for each door you do it on. There's obviously a lot of doors will be opening in this run, so I'll add up pretty quick. And here we're in Home Sweet Home. We just got blasted by some of that red smoke, so now we're basically hallucinating. And the way that manifests in this section is we have to run through one big maze. And I'm going in specific directions in the maze, because if you go in the wrong direction, the game will teleport you to make you go the right direction. And whenever that happens, there's a little animation that plays that I'd say wastes around maybe half a second, maybe a bit less. So just go in the correct direction in the maze in order to avoid that happening. Small time saver. Trigger catnap going around that corner to progress, and I just missed it. Yeah, I'll just be running through the maze. Also, we're not actually supposed to be running through the maze. You're supposed to just walk through here. But if you hold run going into this sequence and never let go, you can just run as much as you want. As long as you don't hold a run, you'll just keep running. We saw Catnap kind of disappear around the corner there. He's supposed to deload when you get close, and again, you're meant to be walking in this area. So the game doesn't anticipate you being able to run here, so Catnap just kind of disappears there as you get close to him. Looks really goofy. Sometimes Catnap can get stuck in this hallway and not walk to the right as you just saw him do, which can be kind of annoying, but didn't have that happen here. So we'll be getting our next tape here. This, I believe, tape number 3. And we have to get this as part of the story. We're forced to put it in. And this starts a 2-minute unskippable cutscene that we're forced to sit through. We have to actually watch this to progress through the game. There's no way to skip it, to our knowledge, so
feel free to wander the halls.
We'll just sit here for a bit.
Or watch our children play and learn to their little hearts.
If anything you want to read out, this would be a good time.
Join the innovationists where the bounds of science are continuously pushed. Or join the counselors of Playcare whose diligence and care for our children will help shape a brighter future.
I wish I had an emote with this face on it. I'd just spam it right now.
Every one of you has your part in that future, so should you
yeah, this cutscene is really cool, just from a story perspective, even. Because the whole, at least the kind of rumored plot about this game is, we are a ex-worker, ex-employee of Playtime Co. That's the toy company that makes all these haunted toys. Like this one you're about to see on screen. And we're coming back here after, I think, 10 years to rescue our coworkers, but then ends up turning into this whole rabbit hole. Which is honestly at times a little hard to keep up with. Yeah, we just get little horror moments like this, which is cool. Again, fitting for the marathon. Speaking of the horror aspects of this game, they actually really up the ante with the spooky moments in this, because the thing with the first 2 chapters is they kind of had a reputation of, oh, it's like a cash grab indie horror meant to cash in on the success of games like FNAF. But chapter 3 is like, it ups the horror tenfold. It's so good. Even just moments like this are really good. So yeah, that nightmare. Yeah. So a nightmare version of one of the main mascots, Poppy, Huggy Wuggy, comes out of there and kills us, or quote unquote kills us. Because it turns out it was all just a dream. You can't actually outrun the nightmare version of Huggy, but you do eventually get to the end of a hallway that has dead ends, so you do in fact have to die to the nightmare version of Huggy there. Anyway, we'll do a quick jump on this jump pad. Cool. It doesn't look like it because it was just a simple jump, but that's actually a lot harder than it looks. Because there's a lot of collision that you can hit as you jump up that just pushes you down. So doing that jump is actually deceptively hard. You kind of have to line yourself up pretty tightly in order to get that without getting knocked down. But now we're in Home Sweet Home proper. The idea here is we're hitting 2 switches, which each require 2 batteries. To power this door, to go to a room where we do another puzzle involving electric poles, to power the generator for Home Sweet Home. But we're going to skip one half of the puzzle after we grab this next tape. Also, I'm going to ride on this car as I wind up car as it drives over there to break open the door. A little time saver. We'll get the second tape. And you're supposed to do, like I said, the second half of the puzzle where you get 2 more batteries to power the other generator in this area. But there's actually a checkpoint just on the other side of these metal bars, which you can just ram your camera through and you hit a checkpoint. Just like, you literally just skip this entire puzzle, or at least half of it, just by throwing your camera through a wall. It's so silly. Yeah, it puts us in this room here. Do this puzzle real quick. Power on the generator. You're seeing these little handguns in the room. Those let us activate several electric poles at once. So I have to pull this bridge, because otherwise when I pull this lever, that shutter up there comes up and blocks the handgun's cord. So I have to pull that bridge up to complete. It's really slick too, and it is done really well. Like, I didn't, obviously I slowed down a bit to show it off, but when you do some of the puzzles in this game really fast, especially in like no major skips, which is basically this game's equivalent of glitchless, it looks so cool. Yep, that's the end of Home Sweet Home. We power on the generator. And you may remember earlier when I dropped down, I hit that power relay early. This is where we get to see the effects of that in motion. We're going to get a little cutscene here, where we get grabbed by Kissy Missy, and then Poppy comes here to save us. These are returning characters that you might recognize from the previous chapters. They're kind of our allies in this game, helping us to defeat this guy called the Prototype, who's kind of the overall big bad of this series. And we're supposed to go on this elevator off to our right to turn on the power relay that we turned on before. But we already turned on the power relay, so we can just completely ignore them and then go straight to the school, which is where our third main area is going to be. And for the first time in a while, school is actually, well, I guess besides Home Sweet Home, school is one of the kind of the least broken areas in this entire run, surprisingly. There is now a bounce you can do here, but because we have to go out of our way to grab these collectibles, we can't do it. And it's a shame, because it's a really cool prop fly involving a toy block. But yeah, we're going through here, mostly inbounds, because again we have to grab the collectibles. And this is the area I was talking about that had those 6 notes. So we're grabbing those, and there's a VHS tape we're grabbing later on. That's pretty straightforward. There is this vent right here that can be kind of annoying with its collision. Yeah, the collision there is kind of finicky, so you kind of have to fill your way through to drop down quickly. I guess while we're running through here, because this area is pretty straightforward for the most part, how are you liking this run so far? I know you've been doing a lot of crazy stuff already.
I really do like it, because 100% usually entails that you can't skip too much, but this 100% has like plenty of tricks that you can still incorporate even with having to get it complete everything. So I do like that
Yeah.
aspect. Because sometimes you hear 100% and you're just like, it's straightforward, just complete every objective how it's supposed to. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do like the twist on this.
Yeah. There's a little stipulation with all the skipping I'm doing, which I'll talk about later in like a couple areas down the line. I'll have more on that later. So we'll grab our 5th note. Activate this electric pole, which will start a chase sequence with this monster right there, named Mr. Light. It'll start as soon as I grab this battery. The special thing with Mr. Light is she is a Weeping Angel type monster. She only moves when you're looking away from her. So in a casual playthrough, this particular section is pretty tense. It took me a while to be on my casual playthrough. But in the speedrun, we can just completely cheese it. Because you might have noticed when I started the sequence, I smuggled that battery through the door. That's going to allow us to skip a significant portion of the end of this chase. There's normally a part at the end where you have to dodge and weave through a bunch of different... while Mr. Light is chasing you the whole time. Or to grab a battery and then charge your hand to hit these electric nodes, but you can avoid most of that. And the annoying thing about Mr. Light is she can phase through doors if there's a door between you and her. So the Mr. Light in this chase sequence blatantly cheats. Well, there you go. We'll grab that electric charge, put both batteries in immediately because we smuggled that one in from before. Oh yeah, there's Mr. Light, by the way. We'll go to the end of the hallway here, activate this door, and kill her. Oh, that disrespect! I always like to teabag her for fun when I end this chase, just because you have to wait in that room anyway for the shutters to open, so might as well kill some time. Also, right before that load screen, I grabbed our second hand power-up, which I'll talk about later. It just makes it so that when you load in here, the door that's supposed to open normally when you grab it is already open. Put in that tape right there. Do a minor kind of out of bounds. It's not really out of bounds because we're still inbounds technically. But this lets me skip some platforming involving a purple hand. Speaking of the purple hand, it's going to be very useful for this next trick. Because you're getting on top of this electric pole, which you normally use for a puzzle. There we go. So it turns out those little blue placards they used to shoot the hand to actually complete the puzzles. They're physics objects that you can stand on. And if you stand on them, or if you jump off them as they're going up, you'll get a huge boost to speed, which lets you go over that barrier and skip the puzzle.
Yeah, that was actually a sick trick, I can't lie.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was smooth.
Mm-hmm. There is a kind of stipulation with that, because I mentioned before about how skipping this game causes weird things to happen. By doing that specific skip, we end up avoiding a checkpoint there. And Chapter 3, also I'm going to change the FPS to 30 here for an upcoming trick. The thing with skipping checkpoints in this game is, if you skip any checkpoints at all in this chapter, also this is going really awry, holy. Okay. The block can get stuck sometimes, so managed to free it there. If you skip any checkpoints in this game, the rest of the checkpoints after that just don't work. You can still get, like, story triggers and everything, but the game won't give you the autosave to go with it. So I basically have to do the rest of this run without having to reload. Which is annoying, because there's a couple of skips where you can fall out of bounds if they go wrong, like this one I'm about to do. So I'm going to go through that gap, take this block out of bounds with me after putting in that tape. And we're going to do a prop fly with this toy block, which is as annoying as it sounds. It's going to skip this whole area, hopefully. Ooh, okay. Yeah, so the reason that is so scary is because you saw that block I was flying on. It really likes to fly. It really likes to just fly out of your grip. And even more annoyingly, even when you think you have it right and you're safe and sound and you're just ready to go to the end of the area, the block can just knock you like 30 degrees off your intended path, and you'll just fall out of bounds. But yeah, went pretty well there. And that skips the entire playhouse. There's like a puzzle you'd have to do where a bunch of those little monsters right there, the smiling curs are what they're called, chase after you. And then you do a chase sequence with a character named Dog Day, which is one of the best parts of the game, by the way. If you ever watch a casual playthrough of this game, that's probably the most memorable part of it. Plenty of video essays about that one. We get to skip that chase too, and go right to the end. Go into our 4th main area. Yeah, 4. I think it's technically our 5th because we went through the playhouse earlier is what that area was called. But get to our 4th or 5th main area, the counselor's office. And it's actually relatively in balance, surprisingly. That's the thing I kind of like about this run. You get a bunch of crazy skips as you're seeing, but you get like an occasional break in between. Really nice. For first tape in there, it's a classic EAS, or emergency alert system. There we go. Sure, everyone watching just got jolted awake by that. Grabbing this battery here after putting it in when I open that door. Because by pulling out the battery, when I do a puzzle room later on, the battery will be at its original spawn for that puzzle, which will help me save a couple seconds. And here is what would normally be a big puzzle involving the jump pads. We're going to do a pretty sick trick here to basically skip all of it. It's not too precise to set up, but it can't go wrong. There we go. Oh no! You're kidding me. That's the first time I've ever had it go wrong. Well, you kind of get the picture, but I have to go and try it again.
That's just that marathon luck. No worries.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding when I say that. I've literally never failed that in forever. Oh, whoop. Didn't have my cursor set up right. There we go. I think I just got like pushed to the side by some geometry. So yeah, for whatever reason, when you use the purple hand on the very edge of those jump pads, you get a huge amount of horizontal momentum. And we have just enough right there to skip past most of that puzzle. We still have to do the first part of it to activate the jump pad we use to skip the puzzle, but we effectively skip all of it. And we put it in our second IHS there. Yeah, like I said, this area is actually relatively out of bounds free. But there's one weird thing we'll be doing in the next room. We have a bit of a vent crawl sequence before we get there. Also gonna put on the gas mask because there is a room full of red smoke in this next area. I'll have to put in a few batteries and activate a few electric nodes. Weirdly enough, there is actually a way to skip Home Sweet Home in its entirety, and even the first area that you saw me do earlier, and staying in balance while doing so. So technically we could have a inbounds category where we end up skipping half of the game, but this one room is what prevents us from doing it. Because you have to have the gas mask to get past this room, and there's no real way to do this room otherwise. So unfortunately we don't have an 80% inbounds route that's viable yet, but maybe we will someday. So I'm going to do a weird thing here with this battery. Pay attention to the battery right here. This one jumbo-sized. So the reason that happens is because when you complete this first half of the puzzle where you activate this panel right here, the battery's supposed to go back to its original spawn on top of this platform that I'm on right now. But we interrupted it by holding on to the grab pack. And I guess the game's response to that is to just make the battery go jumbo-sized for some reason. And we do that because it lets us power both of these sockets with one battery. And it's pretty funny, actually, because you can see the battery popping out the other side here. Just chilling. That's effectively Playhouse, or Counselor's Office, I mean. Done. We got both batteries, so we can activate the power there, and I hit an autosave. And I'm going to do something that's seemingly mundane, but ends up skipping quite a lot. There we go. By rubbing against that door, I've hit a story trigger, or a trigger that lets me skip a cutscene. And it's a pretty long cutscene too. It's like a 3 or 4 minute unskippable cutscene where you basically get a huge lore dump accompanied by a hallucination. And you have catnaps screaming in your ear to go away, essentially. But we skip all that. So now we're basically at the end game. There's a couple plugs we have to get. So the last plugs we'll have to plug in before we actually activate the red smoke. So we plug them both in. And there's another stipulation with this end section, speaking of checkpoints breaking. After I plug these 2 plugs in, I'm supposed to grab a big battery that lets me power a machine to start the ending sequence. You'll kind of hear it right here. There you go, you heard that clunk. That's the big battery that's supposed to spawn there. But because I skipped the checkpoints earlier by doing Playhouse skip, the battery just doesn't spawn. You have to hit all the checkpoints in sequence in order for the battery to spawn. So that's a bad thing, because we're supposed to take this elevator to get to a final boss fight, but that elevator's broken now, and we can't fix it. So what are we going to do for that, you might ask? Short answer, more prop hovers. And this is a trick that's actually used in the any percent run too, so if you're familiar with that run, this will look very familiar. We're going to use this trick, or this barrel, to... Okay, it was a little chaotic there, but I fixed it. We're going to use this barrel to hover out of bounds just outside the elevator instead. This trick is affectionately referred to in the community as barrelvator for apt reasons. Because the elevator is broken, as I said, so we just use a barrel as our elevator instead. And as you can see, this hover is a lot harder than it looks. Because like I was saying earlier, the prop hovers in this game are very volatile. When you're flying with these props, well, depending on the FPS you're running at, when you're trying to fly with these props, whether it's the chair or the barrel, they really like to fly around as you're trying to hold on to them for dear life. So you have to like manage it very carefully. We just hit a trigger right there that loads me into this area, which is where the final boss of the game is. Yes, little did you know, Poppy Playtime has boss fights. What this boss fight is, after I finish this tutorial, is basically a 3-minute timed survival section. Catnap, as well as a few fake versions of Catnap, are going to try to come at me from these 4 lanes surrounding the arena. And I have to determine which one's a fake or not, which I can do with the flare gun. If the cloud disappears and I shoot the flare gun at it, it's a fake. Of course, if it doesn't disappear, it's the real Catnap. So I have to defend myself against Catnap and its various fake versions. That's fake. I have to defend myself against Catnap and its various fake versions. And every 45 seconds or so, you can see the timer in the middle monitor right there. Every 45 seconds or so, I have to plant a battery in this middle terminal. You power this electric node, which I'm going to eventually use to kill Catnap. That's the fight. We just have to defend ourselves against Catnap occasionally, power the node in the middle, and then eventually kill him with electricity. And getting this spawn right here is actually really good, because this allows us to cheese this fight. So in addition to attacking us from the 4 lanes surrounding us, Catnap can also go in this vent above the arena. And what's special about this attack that he does is this attack doesn't finish, and he doesn't move to a different lane, until you fully close the hatch. So what we can do to make this fight a little easier is to just open and close this vent over and over, basically keep him stun locked in this vent, and just like coast through the fight by doing this. This makes this fight a lot easier. It's kind of funny because it's like you're playing peekaboo with your cat at home. Which yes, I'm allowed to make that joke because I am in fact a cat owner. Shoutouts to all the cat owners watching the stream.
Big ups cat owners, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I just have to raise and lower the hatch over and over. I'm gonna wait until there's around 10 seconds left on the clock. Again, on that middle monitor right there. Right here. And I'll let go of the hatch. And I'll use the electric node to kill Catnap. Okay, about 13 seconds left. Yeah, we love cats in this household. Cats and dogs both have their plus and minuses, but I tend to lean more towards cats now. Alright, so power node is just about ready. So I'll power up my green hands. Shoot Catnap. He's very electric to electricity, as it turns out. So burst into flames here. And our good friend, the prototype, is going to descend. And little plot thing, the Catnap kind of worships the prototype like a god. It's a whole lore thing, don't worry about it. He's going to get his reward here for being so faithful. so grody. It's like a Mortal Kombat fatality. You can even see a little blood streaking out too at the end of that. Alright, and that's Catnap done. We have just have the ending to go. There's a trick I would do here to get out of bounds to skip riding this elevator down, but I'm gonna avoid doing that because it gives me an opportunity to explain something at the end. I also need to change my, speaking of which, I need to change my FPS to 75 for this trick. Because normally at the end of this game, after defeating Catnap, you'll turn on the red smoke, which I'm about to do, and then you get a 4-minute long, basically unskippable cutscene, where you get a big lore dump about something called the Hour of Joy, which is basically the inciting event that caused the plot of this entire series to kick off. But you can actually skip part of that by going out of bounds with a prop hover to cause the ending to trigger early. And our victim that we're going to use for this is this gas can, which as you can see is very chaotic to use for this because it really likes to flail around. I'm going to go to 120 FPS because it makes setting this up a little easier. There we go. I have to wait for that monitor to turn on, just like before when we were here. So it actually starts, and we can go through the store. Alright, so what I'm doing with the grab pack, by the way, is I'm basically grabbing that barrel as well as this gas can to stretch my arms out as far as they can go, to hopefully get a weird physics glitch. Okay, cool. Yep, I got it. So by stretching my hands all the way out there, and then trying to grab the gas can and letting go of the barrel at the same time, it makes some weird floaty physics happen with the gas can. So I can use it to hover in this basically death pit. And I'm pausing here to explain this because it all happens really quickly. As I just mentioned, there's like a death trigger below me, so I have to be very careful to not hit that, which can be very finicky with this problem in particular. And then I'm going to, as I kind of mentioned, use this gas can to hover below this elevator to hit a death trigger or a story trigger to cause the ending cutscene to happen, and then get back on the elevator. Here we go. Cool. Usually if I fall off the gas can, it's like right there when I start to descend. I have to go far enough down, otherwise I get caught by some invisible walls. I'm gonna hover back up. And assuming I don't fall off this gas can, we're basically on the home stretch. At some point I'm gonna hit the trigger for the ending, which you'll be able to determine by the elevator starting up. There we go. Stay on the gas can, and then we'll get back on the elevator. So the ending will happen in a second. It'll be when the screen turns to black, and that's when time will be.
Wow, that was a really good run.
Yeah.
It definitely was a really good run.
Yeah, Chapter 3 is such a sick run. It's so much fun. Like, this game came at a really good time for me, because at the time this chapter came out, which was late January, I was going through a mental health funk and generally was pretty burnt out. And Chapter 3 just revitalized that spark in me again.
Wow, that was especially for like 100%, right? I think a
Yeah.
lot of people have this misconception of like 100% basically being like glitchless, but
Yeah.
that was a super fun run, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything you want to say or anything you want to shout out, this is your time, my friend.
Yeah. So I want to shout out a few people. First off, I want to shout out a few people from Poppy Speedrunning. Particularly, I want to shout out Quincy, who's been very supportive of my speedrun efforts, and also was my partner in crime with Chapter 2 runs back in the day. Also, On Trigger, Lilman, or LA, and Noki, because they did a lot of glitch hunting with this chapter back when it came out. And basically it for shoutouts. I also want to give a shout out to Games Done Quick. Yes, that speedrun marathon. Because I'll be running this game for that event with any percent, and it's going to be a sick run. Excited for it.
Well, hell yeah, hell yeah. Again, it was a big GG's for that run. That was really good. All right. So next we have Schmumbler with the Tower of the Borderland 80%. So after this intermission, we will get right to that. GG's, nerd.
Thanks.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. You mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time.